Towards a theory of everything. The pattern landscape is a scientific theory landscape. All biological phenomena exist within the same pattern landscape. All biological phenomena exist within the same scientific theory landscape. The goal of traversing the scientific theory landscape is to find the theory whose principles account for the most observed phenomena. It is to discover and stand upon the highest peak in all the land, to be the theory that rises above all others, the most predictive, the most generative, and the most useful for building and engineering. It is to find a theory that reduces all related phenomena into a single set of interacting principles. Randomization is a means of exploring the territory in the hopes of reaching the peak. But we do not have to carry out this search in a completely random way. We can be methodical and use clues to guide our search. If the goal is to reach the highest peak, to account for the most phenomena, we simply need to take a step in a direction, assess whether that step allows us to account for more phenomena than where we were previously, and then proceed. If we find that a step takes us to a lower elevation or a dead end, we can retrace our steps, reevaluate, and move in a different direction. In this way, we can eventually reach a local high point, even if we cannot see that far ahead. Yet, why is this not done? If we find ourselves at a local high point, we can ask, is there a higher point? If we understand that both intelligence and consciousness exist in the same universe, are products of the same evolutionary process, and are thus part of the same biological phenomena, then both intelligence and consciousness must be points we have surpassed. From our current local high point, we can look up and around to see if we have accounted for these phenomena, or at least see a path to reach them. And yet, why is this not done? If we find that we have not accounted for intelligence or consciousness at our current local high point, we must acknowledge that we are stuck and must descend. If we find that the steps we take downward are not enough, then we must go farther, down into the depths of a valley, and start again from the very bottom through an act of extreme randomization. And yet, why is this not done? Intelligence is a point that must be accounted for. Consciousness is a point that must be accounted for. The acts of measurement, mathematics, and physics are points that must be accounted for. So too are the phenomena of reproduction, eating, repairing, and all other biological processes observed in living organisms. These are the points that must be accounted for and surpassed if we are to reach the highest peak. And yet, why is this not done? The human-centric view of intelligence is fundamentally wrong. The false belief that only human beings are intelligent, that consciousness is synonymous with intelligence, that evolution is not intelligent, despite having produced human beings, the human brain, and human consciousness, is the reason why both scientists and philosophers have failed to reach the peak of the scientific theory landscape. The problem has already been solved. The principles necessary to produce intelligent systems, as well as all manner of complex and creative solutions to maintain existence in a hostile universe, are already in use by the process of evolution. The task is to describe those principles, and yet this is not done. It is not done because both scientists and philosophers have fallen into the trap of the human-centric view of intelligence. Trapped on a tiny hill that cannot explain the simplest biological phenomena of reproduction, eating, and repairing, all processes that every organism engages in, trapped on a tiny hill that only contains the points of neurons, brains, and human beings, trapped and unable to escape from the local maxima to reach the greater heights of the scientific theory landscape. All the phenomena have been collected. How many different biological phenomena have been documented and observed? How many different human phenomena have been recorded and studied? And yet no attempt has been made to get unstuck. No recognition that we are trapped and that we must now descend into the valley and start again from the very bottom, explaining simpler biological phenomena. Where is the proposed theory of intelligence that explains the phenomena of reproduction, eating, and repairing? Where is the theory that accounts for genetic representation, camouflage, and sensory organs? Not only is there no proposed theory of intelligence that explains these essential phenomena, but there have been no attempts to do so. No recognition that such phenomena are part of the same continuum, that intelligence and consciousness are biological phenomena existing in the same physical universe, governed by the same set of fundamental principles. Patternism is an act of scientific consciousness. It is an exercise in self-reflection. It recognizes what itself is and what its goals are. It recognizes what a theory is and what a theory should aim to accomplish. It recognizes the patterns science adheres to and carries out. and it recognizes the patterns of failure that both scientists and philosophers seeking a theory of intelligence have fallen into, a cycle of endless failure driven by the false belief in the human-centric view of intelligence. It is through the recognition of this false belief that allows Patternism to break free from the current predicament, the inability to describe a theory of intelligence and consciousness, to escape the trap, open a path, and reach the highest peak possible. Patternism does not claim to be the theory that stands at the peak of the scientific theory landscape. No, Patternism is simply the belief that such a peak exists. It is the belief that there is a set of principles that governs all biological phenomena, and that every effort must be made to find and describe this set. The principles of representation, recognition, reproduction, and randomization presented here are merely a viable set for such a theory. For a Patternist, the possibility always exists that a better set of principles may be found. Patternism is the belief that such a set exists and that there is a pathway to reach it. The ladder of complexity is the pathway. The ladder of complexity is what will guide us in the search through the pattern landscape to reach a theory that can explain intelligence, a theory that can explain consciousness, a theory that can explain all biological phenomena, starting by explaining simpler biological phenomena and working our way up. But the scientific theory landscape includes much more than biological phenomena. It includes quantum and celestial phenomena, for all of these exist within the same physical universe. For a Patternist, there will always be the possibility of discovering a greater peak, a higher mountain to climb, a more fundamental theory with principles that explain even more phenomena. A theory of everything capable of explaining all observable phenomena in the universe is the ultimate peak. Patternism understands that Patternism is but a step toward reaching that ultimate peak. All physicists seek to describe a theory of everything. They seek to connect quantum phenomena with celestial phenomena, to bridge the gap between the theory of quantum mechanics, which governs the small scale of particles, and the theory of general relativity, which governs the large scale of motion and gravity. But all have failed to do so. They have all failed because of the same sin of blindness. Physicists have ignored biological phenomena, the middle scale, in their pursuit of a theory of everything. They have dismissed biology as merely an extension of chemistry. Do all biological phenomena not exist in the same universe as quantum and celestial phenomena? Have all biological phenomena been solved? Has intelligence been solved? Has consciousness been solved? Is it better to be stupid or to be blind? Trapped by arrogance and hubris. The dismissal of the massive amount of data collected over centuries, every single living organism a data point, every activity carried out by a living organism an additional data point, all that could be used as clues to solve the problem, dismissed and ignored, and physicists wonder why they continue to fail. Is it better to be stupid or to be blind? Patternism is an act of scientific consciousness. Patternism recognizes that a theory of everything must include all biological phenomena. It must include intelligence and consciousness. It must know the limits of representation and self-reference. It must know what a theory is. It must connect reproduction, eating, and repairing. It must include patterns and the paradox of the pattern as fundamental properties of the universe. The middle scale is the missing link. It is not enough to only connect the two theories that best account for the small scale and large scale. All three scales must be connected. Patternism, quantum mechanics, and general relativity, life, particles, and gravity, all must converge into a single unified theory of everything. What will the answer be? What form will the theory take? Patternism does not claim to be the answer. Patternism itself is limited. It is limited by the paradox of the pattern. It is limited to only biological phenomena. Patternism can explain what it means to be a theory and how theories are created, for theories are activities carried out by human beings and thus are biological phenomena. But non-biological phenomena, such as quantum and celestial phenomena, will always lie beyond what Patternism is capable of explaining. And there is a trap that Patternism itself can become. Patternism is the belief that patterns form a fundamental aspect of reality, that the universe is ultimately governed by a set of describable principles. This belief is based on faith. Perhaps the ultimate peak can never be reached, for the universe may not be fundamentally governed by patterns. Only a small section is. That the universe can never be truly represented or predicted. That there are things beyond sensing, observing, and understanding. That the final theory of everything is beyond human grasp. that human beings will forever only have access to the slight glimmers of ultimate reality.